the pre-show before the free show.
With a fully healed Ashley Pickle. You look great.
Well, it's makeup.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, your makeup looks great.
Thanks. The bruise is very much still there.
Oh, no.
It was bad because originally the cut on the lip was just internally, and then about 2 days later, this god-awful bruise on the outside started to show up, and that's where we're at today. Last night I got home and I took off my makeup, and Mallory was like, "Oh God, it's still there."
Oh God, it's still there.
Yeah,
I love when my roommate looks at me and goes, "Oh God."
I also am in a dress because if I wear pants, the scab just rubs on it so bad on my knee that it is painful as all get out when I try to sit down.
Will you right now, in front of God and everybody, vow to never ride an electric scooter again?
Absolutely not. If there's one thing about me, it's that I don't give up.
Jeez.
And so I will not only not stop riding that scooter, I will master that scooter. I have a personal vendetta against a scooter now, and I'm not going to lose. Now, will I try to ride it with Mallory again when she's controlling the gears? No, absolutely not. I'm not dumb, but I am stubborn. So
that's honestly like the best description of you, like
self. Me.
That's the most self-aware thing I think I've ever heard you say.
I'm not dumb.
I'm not dumb,
but I am stubborn.
Fact check true. You're one of the smartest people I've ever met. And also,
I did think it was super telling at the when we had our engagement party. It was sprung upon us that we were going to do the shoe game, which is
fun, by the way.
It was fun. We literally didn't know until like 0.2 seconds before having to do it. Smart, very smart of them not to ask. And so the shoe game, if you've never been around it, basically people do it at a bunch of different like showers or couple events, but you take off your shoes and you each have one. So I had a white high heel and Brian had his dress shoe.
Correct.
And
we got to work on his shoe game, by the way.
I told him to wear the suit, so that's partially my problem.
Right.
Yeah. So you sit back to back, and they ask you questions like, for instance, who's the better driver? And you're supposed to hold up the shoe, and you can't see each other.
So if you think Brian's a better driver, you hold up Brian's
his shoe. Yeah, if I'm a better driver, I hold up my shoe. And it's funny to see how the couples think about that. But the one that sent everybody was when they asked who is more stubborn, and without hesitation, we both raised both of our shoes.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was pretty good.
It's very true.
We're self-aware.
Yeah, that is. You guys definitely do get it. All right, I want to make sure I mention this.
Okay.
Dateline. Austin, Texas.
Close to home.
And you already know this. Mr. Worldwide himself will land right, I'm reading an Austin news station, will land right here in Austin for a free concert on June 30th in front of the University of Texas Tower. It's part of the university's SEC celebration to mark the Longhorns officially moving to the Southeastern Conference. That's right, Pitbull will play a free concert in Austin to celebrate Texas moving to the SEC. And my question to you, Pickle, is do you have the courage to do what you know is right? Because I believe I understand this. You have a you have a very important meeting with your wedding planner that day.
So here's the big like stab in the heart is, first off, normally that's the weekend of 7 on 7. Normally I would be at 7 on 7 Saturday and could go from College Station directly to Austin, stay with family down there. Trish would come down. We'd dolly the hell out of this thing.
Yeah.
The issue is I have to leave 7 on 7 Friday night to come back up north for a wedding.
Yes.
Brian is my +1 to this wedding, which meant that we scheduled our first in-person meeting with our wedding coordinator that day.
What time? When's your?
So we're going to meet at 1 in Fort Worth. So it really depends on what time Pitbull plays, because I could yeet down 35 and cut the wedding meeting short if needed.
Live music will start at the UT Tower starting at 5:30, but you have to imagine that he's the headliner, so he ain't going on till...
I could so make this work.
It's from 1 to 10, which means he's going on at like 8:30 or 9.
I could so make this work.
Yeah, you can. If you have the courage to do what's right.
Because if say the meeting lasts like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
2:30, and it's
when's the wedding?
The wedding's in January. Here's the issue.
No, not your wedding. The wedding you're supposed to go to.
Oh, Saturday.
When?
Saturday night.
So you would just like stiff arm the wedding to go?
No. This is Sunday, the 30th.
Oh, 30th Sunday.
Yeah, so that's why Brian is up for the wedding, which is why we planned our wedding coordinator meeting the following Sunday. So this is Sunday. So I can go to the wedding coordinator meeting at 1, say it lasts an hour and a half, 2:30. That puts me there right at 5. Maybe even a little bit sooner.
Pickle. I am asking you as a friend
It needs to happen.
Who cares about your well-being. You will regret not going to this concert.
Here's my thing. If I can get like full approval to take off that Monday, I will make this happen. And I feel like it's worth it for the company as a bit. And we're all about bits.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to produce a show that Monday, right? My show. Jeez, that's very rude. The show that I host,
yes.
Right? I hereby absolve you of the production responsibilities on, is that July 1st?
Yeah.
July 1st. I hereby absolve you. I'll get Mallory to do it.
Well, Mallory needs to come down and watch Mallory's never seen Mr. Worldwide.
This is a pickle.
I know.
We'll figure it out.
If I can do it for the bit, I'll drive down there. I will not miss a free Pitbull show.
I think you need to go. I think.
And also, like, I'm not going to wear burnt orange. Like, I will come. I have a Pitbull shirt. You know what I should do? I should bring that tapestry that who knows who got it for me. Still don't know.
You owe it to yourself. Mm-hmm. You owe it to the company. I think you owe it to Miami. And I think you owe it to America.
I am Miss 305. That's how this show is introduced. How in the world can I be rightfully deemed Miss 305 on this very program, every single show?
Think of the credibility loss here.
Yeah. I feel like a fraud at that point.
Right.
I don't want that nickname if I can't.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I'm not dumb. I'm stubborn. Mm-hmm. I don't want that nickname if I can't live up to the expectations.
Do you have the courage to do what's right?
I think I do.
Hit the theme, Expo. Yes, y'all! From the new Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a show that's back. My name is Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and TexasFootball.com. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching us live at TexasFootball.com, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, or you listen to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there at the helm today. She is the Duchess of the Dorks. I mean, we'll find out if she's Miss 305. Kind of seems like that's
Silas.
That's currently on probation. But she's the Duchess of the Dorks. She's Ashley Pickle.
People in the comments are saying they will completely understand if we don't have a show that day for a WTF road trip, which would include VNA, who I can only assume would be down to Dolly.
I will authorize this. With whatever power I have to authorize. Like, I'm not your boss, but like with whatever power I exude over your scene, I give you full autonomy to cancel the show. Assuming, hold on, time out, in exchange for a full WTF recap on TFT.
Oh, I'll try to get Mr. Bull to wave at us. Like, at that point, like, we've got this.
Thank you. Today is Thursday, June 13th, 2024, 168 days till Thanksgiving. Happy birthday. Can't believe I'm saying this. Happy 50th birthday to Steve-O. What an accomplishment.
Ooh, I can't believe he made it to
It's a
30, much less 50.
remarkable achievement. Happy birthday, Steve-O. 50 today. Wow. I think Johnny Knoxville's still kicking.
That's insane.
Amazing. It's episode 1782. On today's show, folks, back half of the show, we're going to be joined by the new head coach of the Graham Steers, Coach Clay McChristian, who's going to be joining us here, talk a little bit about what's going on out there in Steers country as he takes over for the legendary Kenny Davidson. We'll get into that. Before that, we are going to have a frank and honest discussion coming off of the heels of Tuesday's UIL State Executive Committee, or Legislative Council meeting, rather. There were some changes, not for high school football, but it sparked another conversation. I'm going to tell you why adding Class 7A isn't as easy as you think, and why I think everybody should stop using it as like a catch-all like solution to everything. We'll get into that coming up here in just a moment. Do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was Aaron Arbuckle, Matt Stepp, Ed McElroy, and jersey number 69. Nice. Welcome in, fellas.
Welcome in, friends. We appreciate you spending a little bit of your day with us here on Texas football today. Okay, so on Tuesday in Austin on Manor Road was the, or actually, I don't know if they have it there. I think they have it somewhere else. They don't have the UIL headquarters. There was the annual Big June meeting of the UIL Legislative Council. I believe they meet twice a year, and they are they're the governing body of the UIL that kind of decides rule changes, policies, etc. And it's a big all-day meeting, and this is there's usually some big changes that come down every legislative council meeting. There's also things that they consider that don't make the headlines. Like, for example, they considered adding girls flag football as a UIL sport. Didn't pass. Other things like that. But they vote on a variety of different things. They take submissions from the public, etc. All that's to say that there were two big headlines coming out of the UIL Legislative Council meeting on Tuesday. One of them is that friend of the program, Dr. Charles Breithaupt, the executive director of the UIL, announced that 2024 and 2025 will be his last year. This is a guy who's been with the UIL for I think I'm comfortable saying 3 decades. I think he's been there for 3 decades. A state champion basketball coach at Hardin-Jefferson. He is from Buna originally. But he has been the executive director since 2009, just the 7th executive director in UIL history. He announced that his tenure will end at the conclusion, basically 1 year from now, at the conclusion of the 2024-2025 season. We are efforting, I'll just tell you this, just to put some pressure on my friend Logan Lawrence of the UIL, we are efforting to get Dr. Breithaupt on the show next week. So we'll see if Logan Lawrence can help us come through with that. Hi, Logan. Anyway, the other thing that came down was about division splits in a variety of other sports: baseball, softball, basketball, volleyball, and what am I thinking? Soccer. And essentially what they did is they passed the rule that they are going to treat those sports like we treat 6A football. So think about it like this. Thinking 6A football. District 1 6A sends 4 teams to the district or to the playoffs, right? The 2 largest schools by enrollment of those 4 teams go to the Division 1 bracket. And the 2 smaller teams of those 4 teams go to the Division 2 bracket, and those 2 brackets don't interact. That's something we've become very accustomed to in 6A football. It is now going to be added into basketball, softball, baseball. So there will now be a 5A Division 1 girls soccer champion and a 5A Division 2 girls soccer champion. So they basically doubled the number of state championships. It's a pretty it's a pretty seismic move there for the non-football. I think we already have it in football. It's something that you've heard us talk about a lot on this show. But it's a big thing for the other sports in the UIL. And it sparked a conversation, and I was trying to follow the conversation as best as I could. And one of the things that kept coming up throughout the course of the conversation is, well, this is silly. They shouldn't have done this. They should have just added a 7A. That's what they need to do. They need to add a Class 7A in order to make things as fair and equitable as possible. Right now, we're just adding championships. Should have just added a Class 7A. And this is a popular topic that crops up every once in a while, especially in the offseason. People love the idea of Class 7A. I think it's because it sounds big and cool. I remember when Class 6A became a thing. That was not the expansion of the UIL, mind you. Right. All they did was they reclassified things where they started, instead of calling it the 6-man division, they called that 1A and bumped everyone else up one. That's all that happened. But I think people like the idea of adding a 7A simply because of the vibe that it gives of like, oh, we need like a super league for Texas high school football. And it keeps coming up over and over. It's a big topic of conversation. And I think it's become this like catch-all solution for all the things that people think are wrong with high school athletics and specifically Texas high school football. I think that they think that adding a Class 7A is going to be like this salve that will make everything in Texas high school football better. And so I want to explore that. And I want to do like a real honest look at what a 7A would look like and why it is not as simple as people get and why it wouldn't necessarily, in my opinion, solve the problem that people are looking to get at. So what I want to start with is we'll start with a baseline here. Let's put up the first graphic. This is what the UIL alignments look like right now. And by the way, we are not going to touch it. We're only going to talk about 11-man football in this one. And that is not because I don't love 6-man football. Y'all know I love 6-man football. But 6-man football, their alignments have not changed in the last, I think, 5 or 6 alignments. It's at 104.5. If you're 104.5 students or lower, you play in 1A. So, and also any sort of changes at the top would have very, very, very minimal effects at Class 1A. So I want to be clear that we're only talking about 11-man football here. So these are the enrollment ranges. You could see that they have a wide swath, 2275 and above is 6A. You've got a big swath of nearly 1,000 student range in 5A, another big swath of nearly 800 in 4A, 3A, 2A, et cetera. And you can also see the number of schools there, in the sense that the UIL, obviously one of their missions is to make sure that these classifications are about as even as possible. Now, as we move forward, I want to be very clear about something. There are some teams that will opt up that want to play in larger classifications for various reasons. DeSoto did that this past year. They are in 6A when they have a 5A number. We are not going to be talking about that because that's impossible to predict from a school-to-school basis. We're going to do big picture perspective. So one of the things that the UIL kind of prides itself on is they want classifications to be roughly even as far as number of schools are concerned. Obviously, 5A is bigger than 4A, as you can see, but they want them to be as even as possible, while also fitting into basically as geographically sound and balanced as it can be as well. So there are 2 ideas for 7A. One of them is for essentially what would be a super league, which would be a 1-division super league, which we would treat it as if it was 1 extra division, okay? Think of it as like 6A Division 1, then you would have 6A Division 2 and 6A Division 3, right? And so let's assume that it would do that. You add a super class here. You would then be bumping that top number up to all the schools. The top 100 schools, roughly, again, would be in 7A. 2925 would be the number there. And if you want to compare that to what we're currently at, that would be about 700 students more than the low end of 6A. Right? 6A would then become bumped up to between 2,900 and 2,100, et cetera, with about 200 schools, 2,132 to 1,200. The 5A swath would still be relatively wide, 4A, 3A, 2A, et cetera. You would see how that thing would kind of trickle down. The super class there, if you add in a division at the very top, would have the top 100 schools of 2,925. And I guess my question is, what problem is solved by this, right? There's still a very wide swath between a 2,900 2,900 student school and a 2,100 student school. Still a very wide swath of 6A. And I'm just curious, like, what problem we feel like is being solved here. And so I want to look at the other, before we move on. Here would be a hypothetical if they treated 7A as a full new division, okay, or new classification. Okay, a new classification would be roughly 2564 would move up to 7A, and then you have a smaller range in 6A, a smaller range in 5A, et cetera, all the way down with about 185-ish schools in each of those classifications. But again, you would be running into a lot of the same issues. If you treated 7A the same way you treat 6A, well, then you would still have a school at the very top like Allen playing a team with an enrollment of about 3,000, or even in these big schools, you're mitigating the as wide as it can be, but it's still a huge swath there. And so again, my question would be, what is solved by doing this? I'm not sure that I think that you can make an argument. I don't think it's a great one. I think you can make an argument that there's a little bit more competitive balance, but I don't think that there's some seismic shift that suddenly Class 7A, you're going to separate all these Goliaths and there's not going to be any left. I think that all you're doing is kind of moving the problems around. And specifically, when I say that, like everyone always talks about adding 7A as this like catch-all solution. There are problems that come along anytime you're going to mess with the way that things align. And specifically, if we are serious about competitive balance and we're serious about doing these types of things to make it so that the most number of teams have an opportunity to compete at the highest level, well, take a look at this. This is all the UIL 11-man schools charted by their enrollment, okay? Over there, you've got obviously a huge swath of teams that are basically between about 100 school, call it 100 students and like 300 students, 400 students, right? But nobody's clamoring for a 3A Division III. Nobody's clamoring for adding another division there to kind of get rid of the glut of teams there and to spread the wealth there, because that's not a sexy problem to solve, right? You also have this kind of spike here between about 2,000 students and 2,800 students, right? That is the big spike. And essentially what we're doing right now with 6A and 5A is we're splitting that. And we're saying, okay, half of you guys, the larger half of you guys are going to 6A, and the smaller half of you guys are going to 5A. Isn't that what we're trying to do by adding a 7A? Isn't that what we're trying to do, is to make this as equitable as possible? And we focus so much on these outliers, right? We focus so much on these teams, these schools that have the Planos and the Allens of the world, right? That have 5,000 plus students in their school. But take a look at how few schools there are above about, let's just say, 3,200. There's just not that many. And that's, I think, one of the big issues, is that like we want a 7A kind of for the sake of having a 7A, but I haven't heard one person really explain to me why and how that would be more valuable. But then we get to the real kind of crux of the issue, and the reason why this would be a real problem, and you're trading one set of problems for another, okay? These are the 100 largest UIL football schools divided up by their region, where they are in the state. Houston has more than half of them. 51 of the 100 largest schools are in Houston. Another quarter of them are in DFW. I don't think that's any surprise, no. Right? You've got nearly 80% of the top schools in this, or the biggest school in the state, in DFW and Houston. Not a surprise; those are the largest areas of the state. The problem is the remaining 25%, roughly. The remaining 25%. 5 in Laredo, only 4 in Austin, 4 in the Permian Basin, 4 in San Antonio, 3 in El Paso, 2 in South Plains, and 1 in the Concho Valley at San Angelo Central. These teams are spread out really, really, really far. There are 3 El Paso teams that would need to be put in some sort of district with somebody, right? In a hypothetical 7A. There are only, and I think we think of like, I think people think, 7A, it'll be a big city classification, big city classification. Not only is that not true, like yes, Houston and DFW, but Austin doesn't have a ton of these mega schools.
No.
San Antonio does not have a ton of these mega schools.
And if you want to say, okay, the drive from Houston to Dallas is 4 hours, you meet halfway, whatever. Where in the world, like, think about the different, you see El Paso and you see South Plains, and you're like, oh yeah, western part of Texas, not that far apart. Brother, you could not be more wrong.
Y'all real wrong.
The distance between El Paso and the Concho Valley, the distance between El Paso and the Permian Basin, the distance between the Concho Valley and the South Plains, even. I mean, that's almost as much as it is between Houston and Dallas.
It's not. And then where in the world does Laredo go?
Right.
Laredo.
To San Antonio?
Exactly. With San Antonio, and then you're talking about they got to go to Houston, right?
Yeah.
That is the biggest issue here. The biggest issue, and the reason why I think people need to stop using 7A as this catch-all kind of solution to everything, is that I just don't think right now the state has a viable need for it. Because when you take a look at the schools in the state, the issue is that this is an uneven distribution of schools across a wide swath of Texas. A wide swath of Texas. And until we get to a point where these teams, where we have so many schools that we need one, what'll end up happening, right? The UIL continues to grow. They're continuing to add schools. The state of Texas continues to add schools across every year. There will get to a point where the classes become so unwieldy that yes, a 7A will have to come along eventually, just to ease just because they're going to be like, oh, we can't put 278 schools in 6A, right? That will happen eventually. But this idea that it's going to be some sort of problem solver right now in the year 2024, it's solving a problem that in my opinion, is not so pressing that we need to trade it for other problems.
Well, and the other side of this that is just on the cherry on top is I feel like a lot of people say we need 7A to help with the competition level in the 6A and not make it so top heavy. Let me be the first to tell you that just because a school has the enrollment numbers does not mean that school is necessarily incredibly competitive.
Yes.
Is your swath of student athletes larger? Yes, but a lot of these are schools that are in very dense population areas that have to go through a lot of other stuff. A lot of those DFW schools, a lot of those Houston schools, Laredo, El Paso, any of those are inner city teams, which have their own issues that go along with that as well, from funding and transportation and all of that stuff. Just because you split off into 7A thinking that there needs to be a better division of competition does not mean that the same teams would not keep winning these. And
that's one of the things that I think is I think that we get so enamored with some of these mega schools, specifically Allen. I think a lot of this comes back to Allen. Allen has not won a state championship in a hot minute. That's one thing. But then look over the rest of the top 5 schools in the state, right? The 5 other schools. Plano East, presently not, I think they're on the way up, but not presently contending. Plano West, not presently contending. Conroe,
nope,
and Odessa Permian. Those are the 5 largest schools in the state, right? To me, that size does not necessarily automatically translate to excellence on the football field, and that I think is the issue. I think that, and admittedly, part of this is that Duncanville and North Shore are the 6th and 7th largest schools in the state, and they have been very, very good. I would tell you that their size is a part of why they are good. But I would also tell you that the coaching and the players and the community is another big part of why they're good. That's me. To me, what you're doing with 7A is you're trading one set of issues for another, and then all of a sudden, all these people who are complaining about inequity and inequality as far as the size is concerned are going to be saying, well, yeah, but now I got to drive 4 hours for a district game. It's like, well.
Yeah, and that's the funny part is if you want to talk about size playing an advantage, it's not the 6A schools that are experiencing that. It's the 2A and 3A schools that are experiencing that, because the difference between 2,500 kids and 7,000 kids kind of negates itself, to be honest. There's a point of diminishing returns there, but if you want to look at a 3A program, that one school has 503 kids and the other one has 999, let me tell you, from a person that went through that, that's where the disparity is. And so adding an additional classification that's higher doesn't even out the competition
It doesn't relieve
It would be better to do a 3A Division 3, you know? And it's like, but you're not going to do that. That's where the competition disparity is.
And that's the thing.
Is the lower level teams.
I think you're spot on. And I think that one of the things is that, again, 7A, a lot of it comes back to the 7A sounds fun. 7A sounds good. Man, couldn't you believe being a 7A champion? And because California's got 1 million and Florida's got 1 million and stuff, it just, to me, when you think about it and when you take a look at the current state of affairs, it just doesn't make a ton of sense, in my opinion. Reasonable people could disagree, but for now, I think 7A is not necessarily on the horizon, because when you take a look at the real guts of it, it doesn't necessarily solve the problems that people want it to solve, and
it actually just adds a couple.
It adds a couple. Exactly right. It's well put. We are Texas Football Today. We're here twice a week here on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell. Also on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. I hope you'll consider going to TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Get the 2024 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football mailed to you in pristine postage. Mailed to you before it hits newsstands. If you go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Makes a great gift. Father's Day is Sunday. Just telling you, no reason. Father's Day is Sunday. TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Also get a year of Dave Campbell's Texas Live, our streaming platform. Thousands of live events. Do you guys have events going on like this week?
We do, yeah. The Southeast Texas All-Star Games.
How? It is June 3rd. Do you guys ever stop?
No.
TexanLive.com, you get that.
The limit does not exist.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football. If you go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Coming up here in just a moment, the new head coach of the Graham Steers, Coach Clay McChristian, will join us. But first, a word from these valued partners.
I feel like bustin' loose, bustin' loose. Come on, get on up. Oh yeah, get on up. Bustin' loose when you wanna sing. Bustin' loose, baby, do your thing. Talking about bustin' loose, yeah.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, even at home. We provide compassionate, caring support virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here.
Wing is the largest residential drone delivery provider in the world, delivering to your home in less than 30 minutes. Order using an app just like other popular delivery services, and Wing's automated drone takes care of the rest. It's fast, safe, and sustainable, and it's now delivering to parts of Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. You can learn more at wing.com/TexasFootball. Again, that's wing.com/TexasFootball.
Back here on Texas Football Today, I'm Greg, that's Gizmo, and we are talking football throughout the course of the summer. And one place that we know they love football is in Graham, America. Pickle, let's go to the hotline. We're pleased to be joined by the new head coach of the Graham Steers, Coach Clay McChristian. Coach, how are you?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time. I want to ask you about this new job. You're no stranger here to Graham. You've been the defensive coordinator there for a hot minute. But when you got the call that you were going to be moving to the big chair, what was your initial reaction?
Oh, man, it was exciting. You know, it's been in Graham for 15 years and love Graham, love the kids, and, you know, the community is awesome. And so when you finally get that call of, you know, it's your opportunity to take it over. You know, it's excitement. You know, I tell a lot of people I'm proud of our success and our history we've had here, you know, the last 15 years. But really, I'm just excited about the future, you know, getting us going hopefully a little bit further.
Well, you're taking over the program from a guy who basically needs no introduction out there in Graham, and Kenny Davidson, the guy who's the winningest coach in Graham history, who retired back in December after 14 seasons leading the Steers. I guess I'll ask the uncomfortable question. You're taking over for a guy who's pretty much minted out there in Graham. Is there pressure on you to step in and continue the tradition?
You know, not really. That the good thing with Kenny, you know, he and I worked together, you know, so well for so many years. You know, we were co-DCs the first year I was hired out there, and so we worked together that first year under Brad McCoy when he'd hired me. And so we worked as co-DCs that first year, and then after that, when Kenny got the head job, you know, I just moved over to the full-time spot, and so we've worked, you know, hand to hand together for 15 years. And so, you know, the relationship that he and I had was just so good that, you know, that he allowed me really just free reign on the defensive side to do with whatever. I'd come in year to year and say, hey, we need to go to this defense. He'd say, go with it. Hey, well, let's change this next year. Go with it. So it was just really easy because he and I just worked so well together for so many years, and it was a real honor to work with him all those years, and to get to take over and kind of put our stamp on it now is going to be good, and hopefully we do everybody proud.
Talking with Clay McChristian, the new head coach of the Graham Steers here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. All right, Coach, I do want to ask you about putting your stamp on this program. This is obviously things have gone pretty well. Last few years, a 10-win season this past year, and this is a program that you mentioned you've been around for a decade and a half. These players know you, but then you got to talk to them not as the defensive coordinator, but as the head coach. What was your message to your guys when you first addressed them as their head coach?
Really it was just making sure that that we don't just focus on our past, and I told us, guys, I'm blessed to get this opportunity off of, what we've done in the past, but a big part of the question for me getting my opportunity is, well, what are you going to do for us in the future? What is the stamp going to be? And so I just want to make sure our guys understood that, we're proud of what we've accomplished, but in this day and age, it's not about what you've done for me. It's about what you're going to do. And so let's get back to work. There's definitely things that you look at when you put your stamp on things of how you want to put your twist, and hopefully those things will lead to continued success here. But it's exciting for you, and the kids were excited, and they've known me and what I'm about, and it wasn't a shock to them when I come in and tell them my expectations. They're like, Coach, we've known that for my brother and my brother's brother for all these years, so they know it.
You have been in charge of the defense for quite a while now, and obviously last year's defense was terrific, the 5th best scoring defense in 4A Division II. When you take a look at this defense for the 2024 Graham Steers, what has you excited about this unit?
Man, just so much. We graduated a few guys off the D line, which we'll have to find some, but we had quite a few backups last year. We've got about 6 guys there that we rotate through that I think are going to be really good up front. Not overly big. We lost a big nose guard that was a big piece, but we've got some other kids that I think can come in there and move in. But, secondary wise, we've got lots of experience coming back. We've got 3 linebackers that are 3-year starters. They're going to be back. Right now, we've got a good problem to have. We've got some good young players that are pushing some seniors right now for a spot. And it's like everywhere. Anytime you can have competition, it makes you better. And so we've got some guys that have been playing for us, but some young ones that are still saying, "Hey, I want my shot." So we've got good competition going right now on a lot of spots.
Talking with Clay McChristian, the head coach of the Graham Steers here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. All right, Coach, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about QB1 as well. Ty Thompson, what a nice gig to step into and take over with a 4-year starter at quarterback. A guy who I know has been terrific for you guys the past few years. The numbers are impressive. You can watch the tape, and he's quite a playmaker. But as the guy who sees him every day in practice and in the locker room, what is it about Ty Thompson that really sets him apart?
Everything. He's an easy sell. We've had college coaches come around. They call, and I tell them, I said, guys, I don't have to sell this young man. I said, he sells himself. You talk about a top 10%er. I said, Ty's a top 1%er. He's the first kid in the morning in the weight room. He's the one that's at the very end of the day, probably picking up trash as he's walking out of the locker room. He's throwing balls with people. He's a 4-sport athlete for us. I think he's the only 4-sport athlete we have, from football to basketball to track to baseball. He told me this a couple of weeks ago. He said, Coach, I think I'm going to pick up cross country and golf because I want to pick up and be a 6-sport athlete. I said, well, let's hold off on that a little bit. But he's a tremendous young man. He's exactly what you look for, character-wise, arm-wise, and he's gone through the growing pains. Nobody wants to have to put a freshman in there, at quarterback especially. And he handled that well his freshman year, and every year since then he's just taken that experience and ran with it. So we're ready to see. I think he's ready to see the payoff from all those years.
He's Clay McChristian. He's the new head coach of the Graham Steers. Coach, we sure appreciate your time. Congratulations again on the new gig, and we're looking forward to seeing your Steers this fall.
Awesome. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. There he goes, Clay McChristian, new head coach of the Graham Steers, hopping on with us here on Texas football today. Big shoes to fill, with Kenny Davidson, a guy who is the winningest coach and went to the semifinals 5 times.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think 5 times. Yeah. In 7 years or 9 years.
I mean, they were really cooking with Crisco, and he retires in December, and now they're under the helm of a familiar name in Clay McChristian. Excited to see what they do. Big energy in Graham.
Those people love them. I'm going to say sports, because they're not only football crazy people. That's just a town. That's one of those kind of like small towns full of athletes, Carthage vibe almost. Not to that level when it comes to winning state championships, but the passion for it.
You're exactly right. They love their
sports.
steers. Yes, they love their steers. And
even their barbecue team is incredible.
The barbecue team
is very good.
Which honestly, as steers, that raises some questions.
Well, semantics.
I don't want to think too hard about it. Anyway, we appreciate Clay McChristian hopping on with us. Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts.
A reminder, obviously programming has looked different this week. We encourage everybody
We hope you've liked it.
Let us know what you thought about it. We're going to continue this on. So TFT Monday, ROF Tuesday, WTF on Wednesday, and then TFT on Thursday. Let us know what you think about it. Feedback is what we're looking for here. But no show on Friday for the off season.
Yes.
Off season.
Yes.
Non-football season right now. Until now, and football season starts. No shows on Friday, so we will see y'all back Monday for TFT.
So I think that's about it. Do I have anything else to say? Hank's been
subscribe.
Textfootball.com.
If you subscribe by June, you get your magazine shipped to you. If not, you're lame. Official stance of Dave Campbell's Texas.
Hank's been at Hot Wheels camp this week.
Oh, that rocks hard.
It's been great. Yeah, he's been having a really good time.
Can we get Hank on the pre-show next week to debrief Hot Wheels camp?
I could talk to his people.
His manager.
Talk to his manager. We see if we can work that out. Anyway, we appreciate you spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell. And of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Thanks again to Graham head coach Clay McChristian for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tupper. Vince Young, please give me your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you Monday at Texas Football Today.